Krishna, he says that if you follow the shastras, you are divine. If you don't follow shastras, you are demonic. Arjuna inquired, "O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of Scripture but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance?"
Their own imagination.
Imagination.
I see.
And I think that this tree is God. No scripture is telling this tree is God. But I place my faith and very religiously I'm doing this with due diligence, totally dedication, and worshipping this tree.
So it's not arbitrary imagination. I mean, I'm doing it with faith and belief.
According to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: in goodness, in passion, or ignorance. People feel that faith is a matter of choice. That you have chosen to put your faith here and I have chosen to put my faith somewhere else. People feel it's a matter of choice. At one level, yes, it's a matter of choice. At another level, faith is a matter of intellectual understanding.
Yeah, it's the mind.
But at another level, where we place our faith is governed by how much we are intellectually convinced.
Belief. शुरू तो करो पहले. Just believe it. Take it for granted.
Yeah, but that belief has to be reasonable belief. The kind of faith you have is dependent upon the guna that you are situated in.
Oh, I see.
Depending upon whether you are situated in tamogun, rajogun, or sattvagun, your natural disposition will be different to place your faith. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship gods. See, that particular guna in you impels you to put faith in certain things. So that is why somebody who is predominantly sattvagun finds it very natural to put faith in higher powers. Because that guna makes it very easy for you to place that faith. While on the other hand, a person who is in rajogun finds it very easy to place faith in maybe other human beings. See, I gave this example also. Now the speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per hour or something. And then the Gita says that Krishna is a supreme Lord. So I was speaking to somebody, I asked this question, that speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per hour, that also you are not personally verified. And Krishna is the supreme Lord, that also you are not personally verified. But you find it easier to accept the speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per hour. You just accept it, even though you are not personally verified. So even though logically speaking, it makes more sense to put your faith in spiritually evolved people. Nowadays, if we don't put faith, it's very difficult to travel by flight. Again, Air India, I think there was some
Fuel problem.
Fuel problem.
Switch problem.
Fuel switch problem. Without faith, you can't survive in this world. So faith is not a choice. You have to put faith. But where you naturally tend to put faith depends upon your state of consciousness. So that is why through spiritual practices, when we elevate our consciousness, it becomes easier to place faith.
Pranam Prabhuji. So we are in sylvan surroundings. Mountains, lake, and peacocks and horses and donkeys also. Beautiful surroundings, really. And we are closely coming to the end now, the 17th chapter.
Yeah.
And it's back again to the debate about scriptures or not scriptures. Yeah, so is scriptures important, or and then some of that we touched upon actually in the previous session also, if you remember, really. If I know what is right, wrong, is the scripture required? And we saw why the varnas and the ashrams context is important in the scriptures. So as we get on to the 17th one, over to you.
Yeah. See, Krishna, Arjuna asked a very interesting question at the beginning of the 17th chapter. So Krishna has emphasized Shastra, correct? In the end of the 16th chapter.
Yeah.
That ultimately, if you follow the Shastras, eventually you will, that's the bottom line.
Correct.
So Krishna, he says that if you follow the Shastras, you are divine. If you don't follow Shastras, you are demonic. Means what? Right now, you might be demonic. But if you follow the Shastras, in due course of time, you will become divine. On the other hand, if you don't follow the Shastras, right now you might be divine, but in due course of time you will become demonic. The point here is, so that's why one who follows the Shastras is divine, one who doesn't follow the Shastras is demonic. So Arjuna asks this question in this particular verse. 17th chapter. Ye shastra vidhimutsrija yante shraddhayanvita tesham nishta tu ka Krishna sattamaho rajastama. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance?
Their own imagination.
Imagination.
I see.
And I think that this tree is God. No scripture is telling this tree is God. But I place my faith and very religiously I'm doing this. With due diligence, totally dedication, I'm worshipping this tree, whatever I'm doing. So, what is the destination? If I am worshipping with faith,
I see.
which is not as per the scriptures.
But I'm worshipping with faith.
With faith.
So it's not arbitrary imagination. I mean, I'm doing it with faith and belief.
Yeah, but
Of a supreme being.
Yeah.
Is that what he's asking? No.
So he's telling, what about faith? Faith that is imaginary. Faith that is imaginary. The question of faith is being raised here. So Krishna answers that question. Trividha bhavati shraddha deinam sa subhavaja sattviki razi chaiva tamasi cheti katstam shrunu. According to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: in goodness, in passion, or ignorance. Now hear about this from them.
I see.
See, a lot of times people feel that faith is a matter of choice. That you have chosen to put your faith here and I have chosen to put my faith somewhere else. People feel it's a matter of choice. At one level, yes, it's a matter of choice. At another level, faith is a matter of intellectual understanding.
Yeah, it's the mind. What?
You try to understand whether it is reasonable to put faith here or not. You're getting my point here. At one level, it's a question of choice. You're making an independent choice. I don't want to put my faith here. I want to put my faith here. But at another level, where we place our faith is governed by how much we are intellectually convinced. And I would say a lot of our discussion in previous episodes have centered around intellectual conviction to place our faith. Isn't it? If you remember in the 7th chapter, we have discussed extensively about a lot of things which the scriptures said.
Belief. Shuru to karo pehle. Just believe it. Take it for granted.
Yeah, but that belief has to be reasonable belief.
Yeah, it is a reasonable belief. Yeah.
Reasonable belief that, the scriptures, they're very scientific.
Yeah.
A lot of things that they say, modern science couldn't comprehend what they are saying, but in due course of time, modern science understood. For example, this maybe we didn't cover previously, that this thing, somewhere in the 16th century, prior to the 16th century, sailors, they believed that if you sailed too far into the ocean, you'll fall off. Because they didn't know that the earth is round. And only around 1600 they came to know that the earth is round, because one guy went and reached back to the same point. Now this knowledge, the scriptures has been saying for thousands of years. Whenever earth is being referred to, earth is referred to as bhū-gol. Gol means round, bhū-gol. So here you find that the scriptures, they are foretelling something which modern science didn't know, modern man didn't know. So many other things are
Yeah.
Through intellectual understanding, you come to the conclusion that putting faith in the scriptures is reasonable, because most of the things that they are saying make sense.
Ultimately have made sense. Yeah.
Ultimately they have made sense. So might as well put faith in them and then proceed on the path of spirituality. And then ultimately it's about experience. We have explained this. Initially it begins with faith, it begins with belief, but then your own experience on the path reinforces that belief, reinforces that faith, and then carries you forward on that path. So this is another way in which faith is developed. Faith is dependent upon your choice. Faith is dependent upon intellectual conviction. But a deeper understanding of faith is given in this particular verse, which is very important. Faith is dependent upon the kind of faith you have, is dependent upon the guna that you are situated in.
Oh, I see.
Depending upon whether you are situated in tamogun, rajogun, or sattvagun, your natural disposition will be different to place your faith. So, from this perspective, a person might be wanting to place faith, might be wanting to choose to place faith in Krishna and surrender to Sri Krishna, say suppose, wants to take up to Krishna Bhakti, wants to make that choice. At another level, the person might be intellectually convinced also, as per the scriptures. But still, the person may not be situated in sufficient sattva guna, and because of that tamogun, that might be predominant in that particular person, that tamogun prevents the person from putting 100% faith in Sri Krishna, because you need to have a certain amount of sattva to place your 100% faith in Sri Krishna. So this is very deep. This is unknown to people. They feel faith is only a matter of choice or it's a matter of intellectual conviction, but they don't understand that it's also a factor of your state of consciousness. See, he's going to elaborate further here.
Okay.
Text number 3. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence and to the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Correct? In text number 4, he says, Rajante Sattvica Devan Yaksharaksham Rajasa Pretan Bhūtaganam Chanye Yajante Tamasajana. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods.
Oh yeah.
They're naturally inclined to worship the devatas.
Yeah.
That's their natural disposition. That comes to them more naturally. It comes to them very naturally. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. Basically, people with demoniac propensity. And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. See, that particular guna in you impels you to put faith in certain things. It's a very deep science here. So that is why somebody who is predominantly in Sattva finds it very natural to put faith in higher powers. Because that guna makes it very easy for you to place that faith. While on the other hand, a person who is in Rajogun finds it very easy to place faith in maybe other human beings. See, I gave this example often. Now, the speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per hour or something like that.
386, yeah.
And then the Gita says that Krishna is a supreme God. So I was speaking to somebody and I asked this question, that the speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per hour. That also you are not personally verified. And Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that also you are not personally verified. But you find it easier to accept that speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per hour. You just accept it, even though you are not personally verified it. That means you are putting faith in the scientists. So they said, no, I'm not putting faith in the scientists, I'm putting faith in science. What do you mean by putting faith in science? Putting faith in science means you are putting faith in the scientists, a group of scientists. Similarly, a group of spiritually elevated people, they are saying unanimously that Krishna is God. Why is it that you are finding it easier to put faith in a group of scientists, but not able to put your faith in a group of spiritually advanced souls? Because your guna is dictating you that you put faith here but not here. So, even though logically speaking, it makes more sense to put your faith in spiritually evolved people.
That we saw in it some time back, I think.
See, because they are of pure character. See, they have no reason to cheat.
Yeah.
What is the impetus to cheat?
Then we saw some time back. Your downside risk is much lesser that way. That we saw in the 6th chapter or somewhere.
Okay, you got a good memory. See, but then despite that, you find it natural to put faith in a group of scientists. But see, there are so many spiritually advanced souls who unanimously say that Krishna is God. Just like scientists unanimously say that the speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per hour. But one group of people, it comes to you naturally. Other group of people, it doesn't come to you naturally. It becomes forced. Why? Because you are situated in Rajoguna, through which you find it easier to place faith in other human beings, but not in saintly people, not in the scriptures, not on higher powers.
Correct.
So this is very important to understand here. It's very important. So that is why spiritual practices play a role in deepening our faith. See, at one level, as I said, experience. Through experience, when you get spiritual experiences, our faith deepens. But at another level, through our spiritual practices, our consciousness elevates. And once our consciousness elevates, it becomes easier for us to, putting faith comes naturally. See, no human being can live without faith. We can't exist without faith. Faith is an integral part of life. You are traveling by train, you went to Nagpur. In the middle of the night, did you go and check whether the driver was there running the train, or he could have gone off to sleep, right? You go to sleep putting faith that the driver is awake and doing his responsibility properly. Nowadays, if you don't put faith, it's very difficult to travel by flight. Again, Air India, I think there was some
Fuel problem.
Fuel
switch problem.
Fuel switch problem. Dreamliner. Without faith, you can't survive in this world. So faith is not a choice. You have to put faith. But where you naturally tend to put faith depends upon your state of consciousness. So that is why spiritual practice, through spiritual practices, when we elevate our consciousness, it becomes easier to place faith because it comes naturally. It's a very, very important and deep science here, which is being said. So another important thing that we need to understand here is the blessings of the great souls also plays a role in elevating our consciousness, through which we can place faith more easily. So that is why I have seen personally, this is a very elevated Swamiji in ISKCON. His name is Devamrata Swami. So he is like a graduate from Yale University. So he says that the words of Swami Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita as it is, or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, his purports, that those words, there is like what you call it, deal between his words and the Paramatma within your heart. So when you expose yourselves to the words that he has given, to the purpose, etc. So this is true with the great acharyas, with the great souls. They have the power to invoke that faith in you. When you allow yourselves, when you submit yourselves before them, when you, with an open heart, when you allow their words to enter your heart, along with those words comes the grace of God. And through that grace, our consciousness gets elevated to Sattva-guna, and that Sattva-guna helps us place faith in higher powers.
Correct.
So, I have seen in so many cases myself also that people who have sincerely read these books, even though initially they found it very difficult to place their faith, they are able to place their faith more and more because their consciousness
level has gone.
So we'll go ahead here. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances, not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish and who torture the material elements of the body as well as the super soul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. So you might be performing austerities and penances, but they are not as per the scriptural intent.
The scripture part comes in.
Again, the scriptures. It has to be guided by the scriptures. It's not just where we place our faith. Of course, when we place our faith, that's when we are able to do austerities and penances. But if it is not guided by the scriptures, it won't lead us in the right direction, as we discussed in the previous session. And then he comes to food. Even the food each person prefers is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerity, and charity. Now, here are the distinctions between them. He speaks about Sattvic food. Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life. purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. Sattvic food. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. Even according to modern medical science also. If you eat such food, it will only burn your intestine.
Yeah.
Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consists of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. So naturally, alcoholic drinks and all, they're not just 3 hours old, but they are
30 years old.
30 or maybe 3 centuries. The older they are, the more expensive they become. So tamasic food, according to this, these are all tamasic foods according to the Gita. And then he's speaking about the sacrifices in the 3 gunas. Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the direction of the scripture as a matter of duty, where those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness. But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride or chief of Bharata, we should know to be in the mode of passion. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the direction of the scriptures, without distribution of prasadam, because every sacrifice has to be followed by prasadam distribution, without chanting of Vedic hymns and remuneration to the priests, and without faith, is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Now, austerity. Now, first is going to define different kinds of austerities. First is austerity of the body. Austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. These are austerities of the body. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literatures. This is austerity of speech. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. Satisfaction is an austerity of the mind. The mind naturally tends to become dissatisfied. But to keep the mind satisfied is an austerity. That is austerity of the mind. So, 3 levels of austerity has explained. Austerity of the body, speech, and mind. Text number 17. This threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits. You might be performing these 3 kinds of austerities, but expecting material benefits. Again, that is wrong. Not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme is called austerity in goodness. Sattvic austerity. You are doing these austerities for the sake of service to the Supreme Lord, not for some selfish benefit. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect. Honor and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy or injure others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. People do austerities. Ravana performed austerity.
Correct. And penance, both really actually.
For penance and austerity is used synonymously here. He performed all these austerities, but for the sake of causing harm to others. So it's considered to be in ignorance. He also worshipped superiors. He followed austerity of the body. He performed austerity of speech also. In order to do tapasya, he had to keep quiet. He did it. And even mind. He kept his mind in control for so many long years. But ultimately, what was the objective? Destroy someone else. So this austerity in ignorance. Charity. Now, charity in the 3 gunas. Charity given out of duty, without expectation of return. Very interesting. Charity given out of duty, without expectation of return, at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person, is considered to be in the mode of goodness.
I think all the 3 adjectives are important.
Very important here. See, you might give charity, and that charity might be used to take drugs maybe. It's used for a wrong cause because you are giving it to a wrong person. So where exactly, whether that charity will be used only for some superficial benefit, but it will actually help that person elevate. that also has to be taken into consideration before giving charity.
Correct.
So charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place and to a worthy person is considered to be the mode of goodness. See, Prabhupada makes it very clear. In the Vedic times, charity used to be given to the Brahmanas. Why Brahmanas? Brahmanas use that wealth for spiritual elevation of the entire society. Ultimately, people in this world are suffering and struggling. Why? Because they don't have spirituality. See, Prabhupada used to give this example that you see a poor man on the street and you can help that fellow at different levels. One is you go and give him some food, and that's definitely a help. But again, after a few hours, that fellow will again feel hungry. Next level of helping that fellow is teach him how to earn money. That's another level of helping. Another level of helping is remind him that you are actually the son of a very rich father. And Prabhupada, during those times, Rockefeller used to be a very rich person. So Prabhupada often used this example. Tell that fellow, you are the son of Mr. Rockefeller and you have forgotten it. So Rockefeller, the wealthy father, is God. So the ultimate charity is to reconnect people to God.
I see.
That's the logic here. You can help them temporarily, but those helps can be sustainable as long as the body remains. But if you help the soul elevate,
then it's a permanent one.
It's a permanent thing. So in the Vedic system, that is why charity is directed towards spiritual upliftment of individuals rather than just helping people at the level of the body. Is required. Help is required at the level of the body and the mind also. But the greatest help is to help people at the level of the soul.
Correct.
So that is why in Bhaktivedanta Hospital, our mission statement is to help the body, the mind and the spirit. To serve the body, mind and the spirit. So in Bhaktivedanta Hospital, the doctors, they make sure that we have a lot of charitable plans there. We help a lot of people, give free medical care and things like that. But while giving medical care, we also ensure that they get in touch with spirituality so that even after their body is healed, their soul continues to heal. So that is charity in the mode of goodness. And next is, but charity performed with the expectation of some return with the desire for fruitive results or in a grudging mood is said to be charity in the mode of passion. And charity performed at an impure place, at an improper time, to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect, even without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Om Tat Sat. From the beginning of creation, the three words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. So, whatever activities you perform, activities of sacrifice, austerity, yajna, dana and tapa. Krishna has covered these three things here. Whatever yajna, dana and tapa that you do it on behalf of the Supreme. By uttering the words Om Tat Sat. Therefore, transcendentalists undertaking performance of sacrifices, charity and penance in accordance with scriptural regulations begin always with Om to attain the Supreme. Without desiring fruitive results, one should perform various kinds of sacrifices, penance and charity with the word Tat. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglement. Anything done as sacrifice, charity or penance without faith in the Supreme or Son of Pratha is impermanent. It is called Asat and is useless both in this life and in the next. So in this way, he ends this chapter. So basically, he is covering three kinds of faith. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And guided by these respective faiths, people undergo Yajna, Dana and Tapasya. And even Yajna, Dana and Tapasya can be categorized as Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. So the whole idea is we slowly bring ourselves to the level of Sattva Guna in whatever we do. See, from a certain perspective, everybody performs Yajna, Dana and Tapasya, isn't it? Everybody does Yajna.
Yeah.
What is sacrifice? Sacrifice means you make someone's someone else a higher priority than yourself. That is what yajna is all about. Put someone else before yourself. So we all perform sacrifices. We do it for our children. We do it for parents. We do it for our loved ones. And we all do tapasya also. If you want to attain anything, you have to do tapasya. Nobody has become a topper without tapasya, without austerity, without refraining from things that he or she would have otherwise liked to do. You keep yourself from those activities and focus on what you have to do. That is tapasya. You don't allow your senses to go wild.
Correct.
Control of the senses is required to grow even on a material platform. So everybody is engaged in yajna, everybody is engaged in tapasya, and everybody is engaged in dana also. Everybody has that side of them which is charitable. But how to do it as per the
How
scripture?
to do it, when to do it, to whom to do it, and what not to expect. All of those are.
Yes. And then when you do it right, you have to do all these things. But when you do it right,
that lifts you.
That lifts you up. But you do it anyways without following the scriptural injunction, that won't be so beneficial. That's what Krishna is telling in this place. These are very, see, this entire thing about the three gunas, at one level, it sketches the roadmap for us. But at another level, these descriptions also act as signboards till what, how far have you reached?
Yeah. They're also warning boards, actually, if you see.
Yeah, they're also warning boards.
Hey, you're doing too much of this. There is something else. Awareness. I'm saying it lifts your spiritual awareness.
Correct. So we will do the last chapter.
Okay. Chaliye. See you. Bye. Pranam.
We debate about the importance of scriptures and faith and how both are influenced by the modes of material nature or gunas. We earlier saw that if you are following the shastras, you are considered divine, else are demonic. A common belief is that faith is a matter of choice or intellectual understanding. Arjuna asks about those who worship with faith, but according to their own imagination, not the scriptures, and whether they are Sattvic, Rajasic, or Tamasic. Intellectual conviction in the scriptures is reasonable because they are very scientific and have foretold things that modern science later understood, such as the earth being round, bhū-gol. We understand that the kind of faith one has is dependent on the guna in which the embodied soul is situated. A person might intellectually want to place faith in Krishna, but if they are predominantly in tamogun, it can prevent them from having 100% faith. We also learn how specific modes of nature dictate what people worship. Guna also dictates where a person naturally places their faith. A person in Rajogun may find it easier to put faith in scientists than in spiritually advanced souls who declare Krishna is God. We also discuss about the three gunas in various actions: food, sacrifice, austerity, and charity. Austerities that are not recommended in the scriptures and are ones done out of pride, egoism, lust, or attachment are considered demonic and torture the body and the supersoul within. Sattvic austerities are performed with transcendental faith, without expecting material benefits and engaged only for the sake of the Supreme. Whereas Rajasic are performed out of pride for gaining respect, honor, and worship. It is neither stable nor permanent. Tamasic are performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or injure others. Similarly, charity or dan is sattvic when given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place and to a worthy person. The ultimate charity is to reconnect people to God. Rajasic is performed with the expectation of some return, a desire for fleeting results, or in a grudging mood. Tamasic is performed at an impure place, improper time, to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect. Sacrifice or yajna is sattvic, when performed according to scriptural direction as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward. It is Rajasic when performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, and is Tamasic if performed without regard for scriptural directions. We also understand the significance of Om Tat Sat. These words were used from the beginning of creation to indicate the supreme absolute truth. Anything done as sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme is considered asat, impermanent and useless. And finally, everyone performs some form of sacrifice, yajna, penance, tapasya, and charity, dana. Our goal should be to perform all these activities in sattva guna by following the scriptural injunctions.